Legal in America. Did you know it's still legal to enslave someone if they commit a crime in the United States of America?
You know what? I think we're all slaves.
Did you know about that exception?
Wow, I know that. Yes, I do know that.
Did not know that.
The way the government is going, yeah, I would believe it, yeah.
Does that come as a surprise?
Yes.
Yeah, that surprised me a bit.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
No, I'm not surprised.
That is disturbing.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right? No
No,
one really
it's
thinks
funny.
about it.
It's like,
That's weird.
Do you support slavery?
No comment, buddy.
Fair. Have a great day.
You're in 2025, you know, you
I
shouldn't be
think too.
enslaved.
It's like, what's crazy is that
Hell no.
these people, some of these people, I believe, probably have even been to prison. And I'm not saying because they're black or anything like that, or they know someone that's been to jail. And when they're there, they don't even realize that they're doing slave labor. That they're the reasons that the prisons are running. They're the reasons that the state is able, well, certain states are able to keep doing and moving the way they move. Because a lot of the labor comes from these prisoners. Cheap labor. If you can get someone to do work for you for $2 an hour, who wouldn't take that? That's crazy. A Mexican wouldn't even think about taking that type of fucking money. That's absolutely absurd. So like we got to figure out something to do to change this whole slavery thing, because it's wild. It's wild. It's wild.
No. Shouldn't even be a thought in mind, ever.
I'm not saying they should, but it will happen. And if it do, and people don't fight back, that's on them.
Do you think slavery ever ended in America?
No, it's just transformed. It's never changed. It's always been that way.
If you know the process of how indentured servitude went and then how it formed slavery, you'd understand that this is what's going on now. It's just not just black people anymore. So like everyone's slave, not just black people, not just people of color. It's everyone now, and everyone's starting to feel it.
I think that law should be ratified. It should be changed for sure.
No, it shouldn't be legal to enslave somebody if they commit a crime.
Is there any crime that would warrant whiplashing in the fields, like plantation style?
No, absolutely not.
No matter the crime?
No matter.
Even like a child rapist?
Well.
See, that's where the thing is now. And that's the problem right now. Is because right now they got the whole thing with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And what piqued me was because I was watching my boy Osmond, right? Watching my boy Osmond. And my boy Osmond says, well, these prisoners, get them to do all the work, and they should be working for free, and they should be doing the time and paying for their crimes, which I agree with. These sick motherfuckers like Ghislaine and Epstein and all that other shit, yes. But you understand that Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a minimum security prison. And minimum security federal prison is the cushiest shit in the world. Yeah, they have to do 85% of their time, which is different than doing regular prison time, because prison time, you can get your time almost cut in half sometimes, but even more. If you do good time and you work, you get work credits too. So they incentivize you to want to work, because work credits take away time from your prison sentence. So wouldn't you want to work, regardless of the money? And some people who are in prison don't have any resources on the outside, so they have to work. And that $2 a day that they get is the only thing that they have to rely on when it comes to buying food, commissary, soap, anything that the necessities that you would need on a daily basis. That's the only way that they're getting them, is through this $2 a day that they work, right? And there are jobs that are considered shit jobs, and then there's jobs that are great jobs. And once you get let out of that prison to go do things on the outside, right? That's considered like a good thing for most prisoners. They're like, damn, all right, now I get to go outside. And also, and if they're in a hustle, which most people have hustles, they have people, they'll tell them the day before where they're going, code words, try to leave it, blah, blah, blah. They'll cut a tennis ball open, leave some drugs in the tennis ball, maybe some tobacco. And while they're picking the stuff up, blah, 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 the cop's not looking that way. They pick up the tennis ball, blah, blah, and that's how they're able to get some stuff in. Besides the number one reason that they get stuff in, through the cops. And again, watch that HBO documentary and you'll see not only are the cops killing prisoners and getting away with it, they're bringing in everything that you could possibly think of. If you're wondering, how the hell does that get into prison? Well, the best thing I ever heard is that we don't leave. The prisoners don't leave. Who gets to go home at the end of the night and come back the next day? So, I mean, I was in prison during COVID. It was a shutdown. There was no one going in and out besides the cops, the nurses, and the people that worked there. And we were still getting drugs in. There were still drugs. There were still cell phones. How? I don't know. It just bothers me, bro.
Way heavy.
Murder?
Yeah, I mean, those guys, I don't know.
Maybe f*** them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Even if you're a heinous criminal who commits a terrible crime.
No, there's no slaves. Shouldn't be any slaves.
I mean, I think all crimes are different levels. I mean, you're getting dealt with in there by other inmates. Justice happen on its own. Whipping like that, we're going back 100 years or right there.
The crime and the time should matter.
No forced labor?
No.
And the severity of their crime should matter and how much time they get. Like I said, I think
that's what I agree with.
People are getting more time than they deserve for small things that are like as much as a gram of weed.
Where I draw the line is that if there's
I got 5 years with a 2-year stip, meaning I had to do 2 years for violating my probation with a DUI. I was told by the judge that they did not want me, someone like me, living next to their daughter or relative. But yet I was offered jobs to go clean or go outside of the residence to go clean or make furniture for the officers that were working there. We had a furniture department at one of the prisons that I worked at, right? I asked someone that worked there, like, what is that for? We build furniture for who? Like, I don't understand. And they said, well, the orders come in and it goes out to certain people who have put in specific orders for furniture. And I'm like, still, that makes no sense. Honestly, it's mostly the cops. Cops come in and be like, oh, I need a new cabinet. Da, 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 da. Can you make it? They'll give them the things. And then the prisoner that before in a courtroom is disgusting. They don't want to touch. They don't want to see. They don't want to be living in the same neighborhood as them. But they have no problem with you building their furniture and delivering it to their house. I heard the inmates, they load them into the truck. And guess, they don't want to pay movers and stuff. So they have the inmates, come to their fucking house and put the furniture in their house, right? And I know that you think that, like, nah, that's not true because a cop would not want to give away where they live. But this would be the cool cops, the cops that were bringing shit in, that had the connections, that knew that I got so-and-so that I'm bringing in drugs to every week, and they rely on me. And if anything happens to me, because this guy's a lifer, he's a lifer in prison. So if anything happens to me, big dog over inside that's got my shit, everything, he's going to take care of the person who ratted out that cop. That's just how it is. So the cop feels safe because now he's part of one of these gangs that are being run from inside of the prison. And you may not believe anything I say, but I didn't believe how prisons were run or how things they say happen. I didn't believe that it happened, and it does. I've seen some stuff that blew my mind. Still, to this day, if someone touches me from, like, hits my shoulder from behind, I freak out. you know, I freak out. There are things that still stick with me to this day because of the things I've seen and happen to other inmates.
Making money on it, like not employing actual people and just using the inmates, then I see a problem.
And then they can't keep the job once they get released from prison due to the felony status oftentimes.
Yeah, it's not good.
I feel like the federal prison system is just like
I can't find a job for shit. That's why I do this.
Specifically, due to like the laws that are being passed, it's hard to make change. The oligarchy that holds the power is making it harder for us to reach the change.
We realize the 13th and 14th Amendment created two citizenships within the United States. Freed the slaves, that's one citizenship. You're born a United States citizen. You're not under the rule of the United States government that exists today. It is a corporation.
And we're employees to this corporation or what?
You are slavery to that corporation.
Gray, yellow?
You have an income tax. You're a slave under that.
Let's make sure that we're not putting ourselves in position to become slaves. But when you have predators out there, it's not a choice. The gazelle doesn't choose to get eaten by the lion.
You locked up?
He said the gazelle. He said Chilean.
One
of my best friends, but he trying to shake back. You know, I'm supporting him for that.
Not immediate family, but I know somebody who has people who got like long sentences for very, very minimal things.
How has that affected their life?
Forever.
Forever?
Forever. Go to jail, that's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Talking to the people of New Orleans,
Not jail,
I
prison.
headed over
You go to
to
prison, it's a
Gatesville,
wrap.
Texas, home to 5 out of the 9 women's prisons and jails in Texas, to meet up with Marcy Simmons, who spent 10 years working the fields out here after stealing $300,000 from her employer. As I was getting B-roll of one of these women's prisons before the interview, a perfect example of the overcriminalization of Americans unfolded before my very eyes.
No, sir, this is private property. You're on state property right now.
This is...
No, sir, you
state
are
property?
on private property of the state of Texas.
Man, they try to get a rise out of you.
No,
we just need to get...
we're genuine confusion.
As I filmed the
I am
outside
too.
of a
What the
prison
fuck is
funded
this?
by the tax dollars of Americans in a public parking lot, filming that which was in plain view, I quickly learned as to how little we really know about what goes on inside the prison walls.
So we're trying to get some B-roll on the outside of the prison. Are we within our legal First Amendment rights to film on the outside of the prison?
State property is part of public property.
No. The public property is over there behind that stop sign.
State property is still a part of public property as long as it's publicly accessible land.
Yes, ma'am. Can you 25 me at Valley? I have 2 guys that are refusing to leave.
That's not what's happening.
Well,
What's
we're not
what's
refusing.
happening?
We're trying to get some clarity on the actual line itself.
We're not going to argue.
This is constitutionally protected ability to film on the exterior of the
Look,
prison,
Y'all
right?
have the right to, to record and all that.
Yeah.
But not on state property, on the other side of that stop sign.
That's unconstitutional.
State property is
Okay,
Well, no, he's actually kind of right because when you get released from prison, your parents or whoever is picking you up, you have to walk a certain distance away from the prison or away from the prison in order for them to pick you up because I don't know why, but it's a thing. Especially if you don't have anyone picking you up, they make sure that they walk you off of the state lines. And it's a pretty long walk because the perimeter of a prison, you would think you would want it to be big enough to hold a bunch of people, and if they try to escape, that they have multiple things that they would have to go past in order for them to be able to escape. So it's a huge piece of land, and even though that there might not be buildings or fences on that land, it could still be the property of this particular prison, if you understand what I'm trying to say. Well, let's see.
Okay, what business do y'all have on this state property right now?
First Amendment, expression, journalism.
Do y'all have an appointment?
No, we don't have an appointment, but we're not trying to come on the inside of the premises. We're on the outside, no?
Y'all too close to the gate. I got inmates here. We don't know.
See,
who y'all are.
it's true. That's true. I can't even.
We're not trying to get a rise out of anyone. We prefer if you're out of the shop.
No. We're not going to be doing that.
Because you don't want
Well,
you can't
once
want
again,
prisoners on camera either. You can't do
Show them
that.
respect, man.
You
don't.
Yeah, because you don't know.
That's not.
I agree with that. I
That's
agree
not
with
the
that
point.
100%.
You're misunderstanding the whole point. We're trying to get some B-roll on the outside of the prison.
Yeah, but you can't
Officer
get
Cruz here, I
prisoners'
guess, is setting the
faces,
example
bro.
for
That's
the
not
lack
right.
of transparency and the ability for any journalists to gain access and understand what's even happening.
Unless they agree to it.
Yes.
Which we are going to.
Filming, you don't have authorization.
She's right. You need authorization to film in a regular town. You need to get permits. But there's another video two more, by my boy Tommy G, who Tommy is allowed inside of Atlanta's prison, which is considered to be, or Atlanta's jail, and it's considered to be a really like shitty place. But they have a new warden, and he wants to be very open, and he wants to show everybody what's really going on. And in order to fix the things, he wants people to give their opinions and show them what's really going on, and maybe we can have a group discussion about how to make things better for prisoners in that particular prison and others, which I cannot wait to watch because Tommy G's videos are great. And if you know him, you know what I'm talking about. So we're going to be diving into that one video. He goes to Atlanta's prison and like just asks questions, hangs out with the prisoners. And then there's another one where he does 24 hours inside of the same prison. And you could tell he's scared, and I can't wait to watch it. I've been waiting to watch these videos in this order so that we can get a kind of understanding for how it starts and how it ends, you know? And this is kind of in the middle, but people don't understand that these same prisoners that are pedophiles and murderers, that they don't want you, like, they don't want you associating with citizens, and they don't want you getting close to them without permission and all this other stuff, but yet they'll allow you to work outside of the governor's mansion picking flowers and doing the gardening because it saves that person a lot of money on her gardening and her bills. So she's paying $2 an hour to these criminals instead of, you get what I'm trying to say? Sad. Sickening.
So I'm going to...
It's public property, no?
Sir, I'm going to have to ask y'all to leave. You can't be here filming, okay?
So what we're trying to understand is if you're just making this up or if we're actually in violation of some Texas penal code.
She's not making it up, dude.
My rules?
Your questions, I'm just telling you y'all need to leave, okay? Sir, please put your phone down.
I would suggest you don't touch my property. I'm not touching you, man. You don't have authorization to be recorded.
They're sitting on the floor.
We're going to have seats in the prison truck, or they're being shipped like cattle.
Oh, that's not, don't even get me started on the vans, bro, that they transport you on. It's disgusting. It's a dog kennel van.
And if they ask you to leave, you need to leave. I need your license and your driver's license.
Okay, yes, sir.
As far as secure area, that would be a question of publicly accessible.
Look at, dude, look at this guy right here. Look at this guy. That's a mustache, bro. That's a fantastic mustache. That takes some time to get done. I know it takes me some time to do the beard, but damn, that mustache is like twisted to the perfect amount of evil. You know what I'm saying? That's the perfect amount of evil in that mustache.
This is a penitentiary that houses very violent criminals. We have killers, rapists, murderers. We have everything in here.
Sure.
And they have family members in the world that will come out here and play the same card.
Yeah.
And when we have people here, we don't know who
That's
you
a
are.
maximum security prison,
Why
then?
would you come here to mess with these people?
We're not here to mess with anyone, though. That's
They're not here. They're actually here to help
their operations
and put a light on the situation. Am I right?
What I'm asking you to do is leave.
So are we violating Texas penal
What I
code?
want you to do is get in your car and leave.
All I'm asking is, are we
He
violating
looks like
Texas
authority,
penal
One
code?
more
bro.
time for you to get in your car and leave.
That mustache gives him so much authority. It's crazy.
I'm confused. We saw the prisoners, a bunch of convicted felons in a van being shipped in and out of the prison. You just experienced the wrath of a small Texas town. Big hat, no cattle, quite literally. Zero transparency. The sheriff of the town himself showed up within 5 minutes and big dogged us. We have 5 cop cars coming, bruh.
The same people that are elected to protect the Constitution and to uphold the Constitution and serve the public are utilizing that against you.
My guess is they're not supposed to be shuttling prisoners in and out of that freely without chains and all that. It was a publicly accessible
they didn't have
parking lot. There's
chains?
no gates. There's no signs.
And they're saying that's a maximum
Drive up
security
there,
prison?
50
That's
feet away.
crazy.
I bet you a lot of things can go missing or a lot of abuses can go unnoticed out here in these small towns.
After nearly getting arrested myself for filming these prison walls in plain view, to understand what really goes on inside of them, let me introduce you to someone who lived there. I'm here with Marcy, formerly incarcerated for how many years?
I was locked up for 10 years here in Gatesville for a theft charge.
I also want you to meet George.
I went to prison 3 different times, and I was an addict, and I didn't have the money. And I would target fast food joints, and I would wait till they closed, and then I would throw down on whoever was taking the trash out, and I'd walk them back inside, and more often than not, they had the safe open, and they would give me the money, and I'd leave. Yes, I did 27 total. I was an addict. So I got out the army at right at 19. I'm in South Texas at a dance to go see a girlfriend. I leave the dance. I've been drinking. I get pulled over, so I get a little mouthy with the cops. He didn't like it. He took me to a jail. He puts me in a tank of men who'd been convicted and were awaiting transfer to prison. And I found out later he told them to take care of me. I was beaten. I was raped pretty well all night. Kicked out the next morning and said go home.
So you're beaten and raped?
Oh, yeah, totally, yeah.
And where are we right now?
We are in one of the fields, and I think that there's actually, this was potatoes here that I used to work at. I worked out here in the fields just about my entire incarceration.
10 years straight. How many hours a day did you work, and how much were you paid per hour?
So in Texas, incarcerated folks are paid $0 an hour.
What?
And
are you forced to work in the fields?
Yeah, you absolutely have to work. I'm not really against people working, but I'm against people doing kind of needless work. Yeah, day one you get here and they assign you a job, and the next morning you get up and go to work. So day two in Big Girl Prison right here on the Dr. Lane Murray unit, I was out in the fields. And so what that looks like is you're strip searched before going to work.
And after.
They'll say like 3 hoe, because side note, it's called the hoe squad. Yeah, the hoe.
In the dirt, or you're a hoe?
Well, I'm sure they mean hoe in the dirt, but of course it was used derogatory, like hoes line up, hoes get over here. It was really degrading.
So it's dehumanizing from the get-go.
For sure, 100%. You hike to a field, and you've got officers on horseback.
See, Texas
they're armed.
is different, bro.
They're shouting directives at you. Day two in prison, you don't know what the hell's going on. You're scared. It's really nerve-wracking. You get out here, and if it's August, it's 105 degrees out here in Texas, and it's not air conditioned in the dorm, and so you're already weak. And if you've been in county jail and the air conditioning, you're really weak because of the heat. And you're out here doing field labor, which is really similar to plantation work. Any old plantation movie that you might have seen, that's what this kind of work looks like.
People used to cut their tendons so as to not go out to work in the fields. I got taken from a nice AC job working in the hospital to the fields because I was.
See, did you hear him say, I got a nice AC job? Then he goes from working in the fields, because there's some jobs that prisoners. Look, I'm sorry, I got up for a second to grab this. I wanted to read you something because I wrote this down, I think yesterday. So when I started, this is how many prisons that I have been to, starting with, let's say, all right, so let's see if I can find it. So sorry, I had to look at my notes. So I started at Craft, which is a intake prison where they decide which prison you go to. Supposed to go to Jones Farms. Jones Farms was going to go through a closure, just like Craft was. So instead of going to Jones Farms, I was sent to Southern State. From Southern State, I went to Southwoods for a month. For Southwoods, I went to Northern State for AdSeg for 260-something days. From there, I was shipped to Bayside. From Bayside, I got in trouble again for something stupid, and I was sent from Bayside to Yardsville, AdSeg. Yardsville AdSeg is, or was, a juvenile detention center, but they turned it into an AdSeg holding area. So, and this place had no cable, nothing. It was the worst. I think I did over 120 days there. Then from there, I moved to Southwoods. From Southwoods, I went to AdSeg again in Northern State. And then from Northern State, I was sent to Southern. So, yeah, I think I did 8. It was 8 in total, if I counted correctly. Prison transfers within 2 years and 7 months. So almost 3 years in prison. Absolutely crazy. And every time they transport you, it's in this dog kennel van, which is the size of a work truck. And inside the back of that work truck, they put a metal cage inside of it with chairs, and they separate it down the line, down the middle, so they can fit 4 people on this side, 4 people on the other side. Sometimes they'll try to squish in more. Into the back of a white grape truck, if you understand what I mean. You know those trucks that everyone says, oh, those are the pedos going in there? Well, yeah, that kind of truck, put in a cage, separated in half, and then 8 people trying to fit in the back of that bitch with 2 cops sitting in the front with air conditioning. And the older ones don't even have air conditioning that go into the back. And you're in there for anywhere up to from an hour to 4 to 5 hours. Lucky if you have a cool enough cop to let you take a bathroom break or to stop and grab food. And usually that's a no. Unless you get one of the transport cops who are known for transportation, so they know they know the struggle. They're not real COs. They're just transportation liaisons. So some of them are cool, but most of the time, you're shit out of luck.
Backing up their allegations.
They're beating up some dude, right?
Yeah. And they'll do that all the time for much minor stuff. I was put in the fields for a lot of stuff. I got put in the fields because I mouthed off at the guard one time because I stepped on the yellow line in the hallway. So they went ahead and put me back in the fields.
You stepped on the other line, dude. There's sometimes in prisons there's lines. In Bayside, they have this one line that's red, and it's dedicated to all the cops that were killed, or COs that were killed in action. And if you were to step on that line, they beat the shit out of you. This is Bayside Prison. 100%. Ask anyone that went to Bayside 5-10 years ago. Body bags constantly. Always someone leaving in a body bag. Once a day, or once every other day, you'd get a helicopter, and you knew that helicopter was coming to pick up somebody to bring them to intensive ward or to the crematorium.
No. Yeah. And tells you to get down on the ground. I mean, what rights do you have? You do it to get shot.
And this is Bianca Tylek, a Harvard-educated leading expert in the prison industry and founder of the nonprofit Worth Rises, working to dismantle the prison industry and the exploitation of those it touches. But real quick, have you ever gotten in a car crash that wasn't your fault or gotten hurt at work? Your injury could be worth
stop with the
millions.
Morgan
If you
& Morgan.
become Morgan & Morgan's clients, they'll fight to get you the compensation that
Morgan
you
&
deserve.
Morgan,
And as America's largest personal injury.
Go ahead. Give me, jump ahead. You know what I'm saying? Personal injury lawyers, mine screwed me over, so maybe Morgan & Morgan is better. Who knows? Who fucking knows these days, my friend?
Prison is already the punishment. Slavery should never be a punishment.
And are people picking cotton? Are they fighting fires? Are they doing crazy work?
And so, like, I'm just thinking about the
They're
things that
fighting
are, like,
fires.
some
Those
here in
California
New York,
fires,
but,
most of them,
all over
prisoners.
The country, we have people in all types of jobs.
And a lot of them died.
There's a massive area of prison work. In fact, there's some really crazy reporting right now about sheriffs that are using incarcerated people on their own properties.
Oh, yeah.
Using the people in his jail to man his own farm.
What?
So we would work anywhere from 6 to 8 hours a day. I think they've cut that down to half days now. It was a long day, doing very manual labor, doing things like picking potatoes, picking corn, cutting grass with a hoe.
So who was your equivalent of the master? The prison warden? Who did you serve?
Yeah, we served the...
Cutting grass with a hoe? By a hoe. No, I'm sorry.
Culturally similar to plantation days, and you had 2 lead hoes, and we would be at the front of the line, and we would be keeping things organized. We would be keeping the ladies on task, and quite frankly, sometimes even participating in degrading them.
I spent 27 years in prison. Total, I got $100, I think, because
what? 27 years you earned $100.
They doesn't pay. Texas has maybe a few hundred people out of the 140,000 who work in Lockhart. They got a couple of private firms that do pay individuals for working, but if there's 140,000 people, there's 139,800 whatever thousand that don't get a penny.
I see.
No, I never got a penny. I worked 13 years in the fields. I worked as a library clerk in the law library. I worked as a kitchen commissary clerk. I washed pots and pans for 3 months because they got mad at me because I wrote a grievance. It was kind of effective. So they transferred me jobs from my job as a library into the kitchen. None of them did I ever get paid.
Were you obligated to work those jobs? Do you have to work in prison like you did?
If there is a job that needs to be done,
yes, that's the thing.
They will find somebody to do it.
Because I was in prison, and the first job I got was maintaining our trailer, because we lived in trailers, and I didn't understand what that meant. And they said, no, you got the easy job. You don't have to do anything. You just get paid to just sleep, basically. So my job was literally doing nothing, and I got $2 an hour because there were no jobs left to do. Just at this point, the prisons were overcrowded, so that they did that whole thing during COVID where they released, I think it was over 3,000 prisoners just in New Jersey, or 1,500 just in New Jersey, that were getting out within the next year. So they let a bunch of them out. So yeah, the jobs that need to get done, if you refuse to do them, you're going to get put in solitary confinement. You're going to get days taken off of your good time because work credits too. They give you incentive to work, but it's not money. It's like, hey, you want to get out early and see your family, then this is the situation. But then, like he just said, he was working for the person that said how horrible of a human being he is, but yet they're allowed to work on the grounds of that person. They're not afraid for their family, or they're not afraid for the daughters that they wouldn't I would not let my daughter live next to someone like you. That's what I was told. But yet they're offering and giving jobs to people 10 times worse charges than a DUI and violation of probation. These jobs outside on the grounds, and just so that these people don't have to pay for absorbent labor, they can just pay for criminal labor. Bro, the loopholes, they're amazing at loopholes. These rich people are amazing at loopholes. And once you learn the loopholes for yourself and start seeing how the rich stay rich, they get rich, and it stays that way, you start to get a sense for, damn, like, if it's not illegal and they're doing it, why can't I do it? Start using their loopholes for you. And that's what we need to get everybody on board with, is how to understand that we could be using the same loopholes that they use. But you got to understand how it's done and do it the right way.
The qualifications give you an order to do it, and if you don't do it, for whatever reason, you will get disciplined, you will lose custody in class, you will end up in solitary, and you may end up with more time. Now, having said that, of course I want to work. I don't want to sit around my damn ass all the damn time, but I want to do something that's fulfilling, not necessarily spiritually, right, but something that I learned something from, and I think that's most prisoners want that.
32 degrees
and there
or
are
below,
some prisons
we're not working in the fields. Exactly. So we're at the back gate, and we can hear the officers' radios, and they do these every hour temperature checks on the radio. And we're at the back gate, lined up, cold as hell, ready to go to work. No issued thermals. I mean, just in these state-issued clothes that are thin, the air's hitting our skin, so and we hear on the radio that it's 31 degrees, and we started cheering. Like, we were really excited to go back in. And I remember the boss, the lieutenant, he looked over at the other boss and said, I didn't hear anything, did you? And they rolled that gate, and we came on out here, and we were picking cabbage. It was frozen, and it had been raining, so our boots and bottom of our legs were wet, our socks were wet. They issue these little cotton gloves in the mud. They're not going to stay on your hand. You finally just have to put the gloves down, and we're just picking cabbage, which the people around me, their lips are blue, snot's running down our faces, and frozen. And I remember feeling ice on my eyelashes and thinking they really don't give a about us. You brought up tampons, and so I need to say working in the field is absolutely insane when you're on your menstrual cycle. Yeah. There's no restroom. They have a porta potty that they carry on a trailer, and tractor pulls it, comes around once every 4 hours. Not everybody gets to use it. So I might be on a squad with 35 other women. They'll say, deuce it up, restroom break. We all line up, the trailer's there. I would remember like waving my tampon in the air because you're trying to show the boss like I need to go, like this is important for me to go, because they're only going to pick 5 or 6.
But is the 13th Amendment that allows for the enslavement of criminals in violation of the 8th Amendment that protects Americans against cruel or unusual punishments?
The 13th Amendment ended slavery, right? However, there's a clause in there that says, except for someone who's been duly convicted. If you have been convicted in the United States of America, according to the 13th Amendment, you can still be enslaved. So
a lot of people don't realize that. That's the silver lining of the 13th Amendment, right?
Right. A lot of people don't realize that, and it was very likely a result of backroom bargaining between
large corporations. Who has vested interests?
Hold on. Back in the day, it was Abraham Lincoln. They wanted the southern states on board, right? But what happened is now these black people who we freed. Now we're going to get them all on the street, and we're going to pass black codes, and we're going to arrest them, and we're going to put them
police them harder, and then we can reincarcerate them.
And reincarcerate them and use their labor now. But now we're not slaves. Now they're prisoners.
Bianca, 1865. Does
prisoners,
Lincoln free
if you're
the
a prisoner,
slaves?
you ain't a slave.
Yes and no.
But
There were
you'll do slave
certainly
labor.
millions of people that were freed during that time. But unfortunately, what happened at that time was also that the institution of slavery moved behind prison walls.
There's quite a few organizations out there that go to prison and say, hey, we'll hire some of your people and we'll pay them $1 an hour or whatever, right? And then they'll go out and sell those goods for whatever they sell them out in the free world, right? And then here's the rub. Once I leave prison, Whole Foods won't employ me.
Why won't they employ you?
Because they have restrictions against people who've been incarcerated working for us.
So they'll hire you when you're in prison, but you're no longer viable once you're free.
Exactly.
So the average
That's the
wage
crazy
for somebody
part
who's
to me.
incarcerated, right, is 14 cents an hour. And in 7 states, it's
Wow, Jersey. I cannot believe I'm saying this. You're on the top paying for prisoners? That's crazy. $2 an hour? I think it's sometimes $3. I know in prison it's $1. I mean, in jail it's like $1.50. Maybe less. Maybe like 50 cents. I'm not even sure. But I know in prison it's like $2. So Jersey's leading the charge. Well, we did lead the charge on the bail reform, and I think that was a great move for jail and prison in general, because if we're going to follow that constitution that says criminals are not considered to be slaves or slave labor, like the labor they do is not considered slave labor. If that's the case, then what are we doing here? It doesn't make any sense. If you're innocent until proven guilty, you should be innocent until that charge that you are said to have committed. You should be innocent until proven guilty, should you not? So you being held on bail doesn't make sense. It's counterintuitive to that whole thing about you're innocent until proven guilty. How is a poor person supposed to bail out of jail? And sometimes trials take years upon years. Courts are very, very slow. It takes them a long time to get to you, regardless if it's a full prison or not. It's just the way the system works, bro. It takes about a month to get your first 2 weeks to a month to get your first real, I guess you would say, real like appointment with the judge to see what's going on. And then if the prosecutor doesn't show up, or if someone's not there, you could be waiting downstairs in transport, because you get transport to the court for your court date, and sometimes you may not even get called up. You're like, why? What's going on? You wait the whole day till 4 o'clock. You show up there at like 10, waiting to get called. 4 o'clock comes around, court closes. What happened? Oh, they moved your court date to another day. And it happens all the time. What do you have to say? What can you personally do about it? Especially if you don't have anyone on the outside fighting for you. What can you personally do about it? And it's a scary thing for a lot of people that are in there with nobody. And I thank God I had my family by my side, but with me every step of the way. And I've seen people without it, and it's a struggle. So they have to do these jobs. They have to go out there in the cold and in the brutal heat and do labor that when they are free wouldn't even be able to get a chance to do that job. But as prisoners, they're expected and demanded to do these jobs. Do you get what I'm saying? It's ass backwards. It always has been. And we got to make that shit face forward a little bit, at least in my opinion. But that's besides the case, right? Let's go.
Majority of states do pay something, but we're talking about pennies. People will work for 2 straight weeks and their checks will be $30.
Okay.
Right? And with that, they are expected to support themselves in prison. There's a really big common misconception, right? That prison is a free ride. Far from it. The cost of communication, the cost of commissary, of food, of hygiene products, of medical copays. These are all things that people in prison actually pay. Sure. In prison, they've recently introduced emails, and people have to buy stamps to send an email.
To send an email.
This is like a physical, piece of mail that's going like USPS, right? Like, we are talking about an email at 50 cents an email.
They had the Global Telink who ran the telephone calls in prison. They were found out to be overcharging everybody that was using their phone. So it was supposed to be like $1 for the phone call, and then every minute after that first minute was like supposed to be 10 cents or something. I'm giving out a random number, but it was supposed to be a lower number, right? Found out that people's accounts, because you have to put money on the phone before you can actually use it. So someone puts money on the phone for you, or you put money on the phone yourself by buying one of these cards through commissary. You type it in on the phone when you have your phone time, and it puts minutes into your account, right? So when you go to make these phone calls, you don't really know how much time you have left. The only indicator is that automated person or thing on the phone telling you have 45 minutes left of talking time, and it comes to find out they were overcharging for every minute. So everyone was running out of their phone time very fast. No one had any idea why. Years later, comes to find out, Global Telink had to pay a huge settlement out to all of these prisoners. I was even one of them, but it was like a $2 check because it's a class action. So you got thousands of prisoners that are using Global Telink, because there's only 2, at least in Jersey, that I know of. It's Global Telink and one other company that the prisons can choose to deal with the phone calls, the emails, and stamps, basically all the communication. The tablets that you get, it's either Global Telink or another company. And Global Telink got caught overcharging prisoners for phone calls, which is absolutely ridiculous. And the prisons had to re-sign a contract because their contract was over with Global Telink. And guess what? They re-signed with Global Telink. They didn't pick the other company. They re-signed with Global Telink. Wonder why. It's all lobbying.
Slavery if they compensate you, and if they compensate you, is there a certain amount that qualifies it as, I guess this is some form of employment by the state? What is slavery in your opinion in the context of imprisonment?
Slavery means that you are coerced daily into eating when they tell you to eat, working when they tell you to work, behaving in a way that is conducive to furthering the aims of the institution. And if you don't do those things, they can have you beaten, they can have your good time taken away, they can have you thrown in solitary.
Is there an argument that you're working to pay the costs of what the taxpayer is paying to keep you in prison after you've committed, let's say, a heinous crime? Is that a reasonable argument, or do you say hell no?
It's not unreasonable.
Okay.
If I'm a taxpayer and you commit a heinous crime, my first thing is, I don't want you to do it again.
Yeah.
And I want to ensure that person who you committed it on, if it was violent, heals. Or is a system that I have. If they're going to make you work, then okay. But I want you to work or something, or I want you treated in a way that allows you to address whatever trauma or anger, whatever you had, so that you don't hurt anybody else. When I was rehabilitation, I have visions of doing some really ugly shit to these dudes. I understand punishment. I understand the need for revenge, the desire for revenge, but that's not going to help me heal.
Our American prisons.
They come out angrier. Prisoners come out angrier because of the injustices done to them. Do you understand? It's like, that's why it's a revolving door. It's because these motherfuckers get angry at the way that they were treated, and it's just a self-repeating cycle, because if they have that anger and they want revenge, they're gonna find a way to get it. And what does that cause? Another criminal act, another act of violence, and where do they wind back up? In the same spot, doing the same thing. And you could say it's insanity, but I think these prisons have an obligation to reform, and we're not doing that.
Designed in such a way to rehabilitate criminals? Or is it simply a system to punish offenders, traumatizing them further and increasing the likelihood of them reoffending after they're released? But real quick,
I'd be like, go on down the road, you fuck.
If you want to support our boots on the ground, independent journalism that is not bought and paid for by corporate interests, along with exclusive DLC content that YouTube won't let me upload, and uncensored early access to all my videos before they go up on YouTube, go subscribe at patreon.com/Tyler Oliveira.
Just because it really needs, we need to put a spotlight on this.
Assault and sexual assault common.
The threat in a female prison for sexual violence is from staff, not from each other.
Different dynamic there a bit.
I think 100%. We had to be wary of who was working. We had to pay attention. If we knew the officers that would creep around the shower area or come around at night.
There shouldn't be allowed, male officers should not be allowed to work in a prison.
Not to make eye contact
in
with.
my opinion.
The Prison Rape Elimination Act that's supposed to offer protection, I guess, for incarceration.
Prison Rape Elimination Act.
that was all over the walls
common
of
enough
jail.
to where they had to implement an act.
Yeah, absolutely. Very common.
Day one, you're fighting people multiple times. How does it evolve? Do you get some respect eventually, or is it just fighting nonstop until you build an alliance with someone?
Not how it works.
The violence is usually early on, and it's to see what you're going to do, whether you're weak, whether you're going to be a victim.
They're measuring you up.
If you get with a gang or with a clique or with whatever, right, then it may be a little different, because at that point the gangs may be called out as a group to do some stuff, right?
You don't
I would fight. I would jump on dudes for looking at me wrong. What the f- you looking at?
Did you ever end up in solitary confinement?
I'm a disruptor out here, and I was a disruptor in there, and I ended up in solitary confinement lots of times. The first time I went to solitary was for hugging. There was a lady that was crying over her mail. She was sitting in the floor, and I kind of bent down and hugged the top of her shoulders, and they saw it on camera. They came and got me. It was like the SWAT team coming in. Yeah, handcuffed me, marched me to solitary. I was there for 2 months.
But if it was a male prison, that would be perfectly fine.
So that's enough time to have permanent psychological damage, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was wild in there. Nothing to do but like read graffiti on the wall, and those cells were hugely disgustingly dirty. Sometimes you would see blood or even feces like on the walls.
Solitary confinement.
All right. My mom doesn't understand why I'm a clean freak, and why I am not the same person I am as when I went in. And I know I'm not either. It's scary. It really does. It puts a strain on you, like mentally, physically. I used to perform in front of thousands of people. Literally. I used to be on stage 4 or 5 times a week. And just leaving my house gives me this unexplainable anxiety and fear in my chest, and I never used to be like that. I don't know why. I know it has a huge reason, or it has to do with my time in prison and especially the how long I've spent in ad seg, which is not leaving your room and only taking a shower 3 times a week, and that's the only time you got to leave your room. Especially it was COVID, so even if you weren't in ad seg during that time, it was basically ad seg because everything was shut down. No visits, no nothing. Even for people who weren't in trouble or weren't in ad seg, everything was shut down. You weren't even allowed to play basketball, nothing, because they didn't want the pathogens being passed back and forth. If you are around someone that caught COVID, everyone that came into contact with him or lives in the vicinity of that person, they're getting sent to quarantine. And it's just the way the prison system works. Especially, and hey, if they don't have enough officers to work that day, guess what? You're not coming out of your cell, even if it's a regular day. Say you have a phone call planned, or your mom is getting a surgery. That's happened to me. My mom was getting eye surgery. I wanted to go make a phone call and make sure she was okay. And that day, they didn't have enough officers, so no one was allowed out of their cell to make a phone call. So I had to be stuck in my room wondering if my mom was okay, how the operation went, because anesthesia, she's an older woman. So there's a lot of things that people don't think about. And their prisoners are getting what is due to, like, if you think that they deserve to suffer and they deserve to have a bad time, believe me, they are. It is not a good time. Even if you were able to do classes and they had all this stuff, rehabilitation, it would still not be fun at all. This is not a good thing. We want people to come out of there with more of an education, with an understanding of what they did wrong, so that maybe they won't come back again. Because I know the recidivism is very high, and it's something that the government and everybody that is even in this realm of making sure prisons are up to code and doing the right thing should be aware of all the shit that's going on.
It's very commonly referred to in the prison system by people who have done time as the hole or the box.
Yes,
those terms date back to antebellum slavery.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
The hole was a literal hole that enslaved people were put in if they disobeyed the rules of their enslaver.
Got it.
Right? No food, darkness, heat. Similarly, the hot box was the same thing, was a box. These are the terms that then migrated into the system and many don't even know are related to antebellum slavery.
The field work you guys are doing loses money, but it still happens. Is the goal just to break your spirit and your will, and when you leave prison to feel like a piece of shit? What is the goal?
Texas is a really punitive state, and I think that this idea that if we just make it as miserable as possible, people won't come back. But
does it work?
Oh, it absolutely does not work, right? Because people are here because they have done something that probably, especially women, resulted of trauma, and they have to work through that and heal, or they're going to get out and still not know how to handle their emotions and handle what they've been through and still go back to their same old ways, and they end up back to prison, and our recidivism rates show that.
Do you think 10 years helped you more than 1 year or 2 years or 5 years in prison would have helped you understand you did a bad thing and you need to stop doing that? Or
I think that after about 12 months inside, I really immersed myself into the prison life. After a year, any thoughts of good things were gone. So no, I think that it doesn't matter. I think that humans are going to survive where they're at. They're going to change to be able to survive. I was the worst version of myself while I was incarcerated.
The American prison system is set up to humiliate, degrade, punish, and minimize.
Absolutely.
The American prison system is full of individuals who are in fact used as free labor for corporations, for companies, for the state. The Texas prison system, as an example, they have 140,000
Alabama is
people.
another huge
The guards turn the keys, hand out the mail, count, maybe drive the buses.
That's it.
Everything else is done by
the prisoners. Yes, we cook the
prisoners
food.
run the prison.
Yes.
Yeah, we're sitting in the city of
It's like a drug rehab, dude. Rehabs, when you go, well, I forget what they used to call them, the older rehabs when it was very strict, but they were structured so that the the people in the rehab were running the rehab. They were the ones that made sure that the people were held accountable. They had certain jobs. They were the ones that ran groups. They were the ones that they did the food. They worked in the kitchen. They did everything. They did everything besides the individual counseling, and sometimes a counselor would do the group. But most of the time, even if a counselor was doing the group, they would have someone else run it, just so they can get a sense of, that's what they would say, their excuse, so that they can get a sense of being the head of something and learning how to listen instead of speak, sit on your hands and don't talk and wait for that person to finish speaking before you do. And it was a whole thing too. I don't know why they made you sit on your hands. I guess they didn't like Italians because we talk with our hands, but they made you sit on your hands. We ran conflict groups, which is if someone had a problem with another person, we would have to sit in these huge lined up seats and we'd face each other. The person who had a problem with the person faced the other person, would tell them how they feel, and then you weren't allowed to react until the other person was done speaking. It's the same situation. These prisons are run by the prisoners, my friend. Do you get this? Are you getting it?
It costs us over $500,000 a year to incarcerate one person on Rikers Island.
$500K.
Do you know what we could do with $500K?
Do they want you to end back up in the prison system? Do they want you to live a happy, fruitful, bountiful life after prison? Is the goal to set you up for success after?
If that was the truth, then they would set you up with jobs just like a college does.
I think that may be the ideal, right? I don't think that there is a huge universe of individuals who are plotting to ensure that individuals who have been incarcerated go back to their cage.
Sure.
I don't think that exists.
I don't think that exists either.
Politicians have done a good job at demonizing anyone who gets in a cage in the first place,
Yes.
right?
Sure.
They cannot be trusted around your kids. Most prisons you go to now, TDCJ, have maybe one psychologist, if that. They don't have psychology.
No, they don't
None.
have any.
If you've been in an environment
There's one,
where
and
you've been...
the one travels amongst most of the jails in that state. There'll be one or two main counselors, and that second counselor, who's not the main counselor either, cannot even make decisions until they talk to that other counselor. So you're sometimes waiting for depression or your psychiatric meds for months when you first get there, because you have to see a psych in order for them to allow you to take this medication. My friend JR, who's the co-host on the show, I'll get him to tell the story about how they screwed him over with his medication. He was known to be on one medication, and when he switched jails, the paperwork did not go, so he failed a drug test for that medication. He told him, well, I was prescribed it by someone, by the other prison that I was at. They couldn't find the paperwork, and he got 120 days in ADSEG and 90 days of good time taken away from him when he first was sent to prison, because the guards and the paperwork was messed up. So it was their fault. They messed up. And JR wound up having to do his first time in prison and his first time in trouble, having to do time in ADSEG. And I met him in ADSEG on his second time for doing nothing either. It was during the riot where we were both sleeping. We had no cause in this, but yet we were both sentenced to 260 something days. That's how we met, in a cell together with nothing to do for over 30 something days, till they figured out what to do with us. And once they figured out that they didn't know what to do, they just gave everyone the same amount of time, and me and JR split ways, and thank God we just kept talking. And his journey was just as sickening as mine was. It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing.
and dehumanized for 10, 12, 14 years, and you get out there, you're expected just to walk on society, you feel useless, you feel worthless. You got 20, 25, 30% of the people who are in jails and prisons have severe mental health issues. It's not helped by being in jail. Which means that I don't believe that putting someone in a cage, a literal cage, where they're
feel like an
subject to rape,
animal. You
to
really
kill each
do feel
other
like a zoo
without
animal.
access to meaningful health, with incredibly deficient way to meet your whatever nutritional needs, all that. In other words, deprivation. I don't think that helps.
Torture.
All that. I don't think none of that
It
helps.
is torture. I mean, dude, imagine being alone, like not like human touch. There's no human touch for like 3 years, especially in a female jail. She said she tried to give like console her friend, and she's put in ADSEG for it. Like that's not right. You know, like we need some type of, as human beings, we need some type of connection with someone, with something, and like if your bunkie is the only like communication and it's the only friendship you have, it makes you lose your sense of being able to communicate with people in general. Like getting my communication skills back after prison, I'm still trying to do that, if you can tell. I forget what I'm talking about. I stumble over my sentences where I never used to do things like that, because when you don't speak for weeks at a time, if you're alone in your cell in ADSEG and the only thing you say is thank you, what's for dinner, what time is it, and you're reading a book, how are you supposed to get better at communicating? You know, even if you were already a great communicator, you don't keep practicing that and you don't keep up with that. You get used to being alone and you get used to being isolated. So when you come home, you isolate yourself. And I've been trying to catch myself with that. It's a huge thing. I'm not right up here because of the situations and because of the things that I had to go through when I was in prison. And I know a lot of other people feel the same way, and it's sad because I know there are extremely talented people and extremely smart people that sometimes were wrongfully convicted, and they're doing time. They don't have the money to hire a lawyer to appeal it. They don't have the connections that most other people have. There are people out there that have been put in prison for doing nothing wrong. And we also have to realize that, not everyone in there is guilty. Okay? Not everyone in prison is a actual offender. And that's scary.
If what you want to do is subject them to the most violent brutality you want, then say it. And don't say that what you want is people to be chained and rehabilitated. Me, as someone who put a pistol to somebody's head.
How do you appeal to someone who maybe doesn't even care about these people, but wants a better system, better functioning society? How would you redesign the prison system?
Well, I'm not sure I would redesign the prison system. Okay. I think this system that we have has no redeeming qualities. Zero. And I think we need to reimagine entirely.
You see, look at that. That's how prisons are. That's how they look at. That's what they look at.
Address harm in our communities.
What are some immediate changes you would make to the prison system?
We're suing for air conditioning, so that's a big one. Stop cooking people alive. People are dying every summer. Texas A&M did a report that showed some cells at 140 degrees in the summer, and I've seen people die from the heat. And I've seen officers fall out from the heat. So that's probably the immediate thing.
They need to live a dignified life, where inequity is crushed, where people feel fulfilled, purpose-driven, and loved, feel connected to the communities and the land that they're on, and that then together in a connected world, we can cure.
There is no connection.
I am less likely to cause you harm because I have everything I need and because I'm connected to you as a person.
Yes, and I feel part of the community.
Should I ever cause you harm? That we have the tools between us and in a system to address that harm in a way that doesn't cause or reproduce more harm. Because this system is not producing safety. If incarceration produced safety, then the U.S. should be the safest place on the planet. To me, it's all these root causes, right? And one of them is addressing the exception in the 13th Amendment.
At what point do you stop getting second chances?
I don't think any human, I don't care what you do, deserves to be enslaved. I don't care what you did.
So you are anti-slavery regardless of the worst crimes possible you can commit.
Yes, but I also want to say some of these people who, because of decisions they made at a very high level, way distance from the tens of thousands of people who may get killed or poisoned, right, because of some of the stuff that they do, don't get charged with it. I would say that's more heinous than someone who gets out and kills maybe a group of 5.
Yeah, poisoning the food, poisoning the water, destroying the environment.
None of them ever went to jail. None of them ever went to prison. Should they have? In my view, no. I don't think anybody should be in prison.
No one should be sent to prison. No. No one.
I'm an abolitionist. No.
What should they do?
I'm not saying I don't believe in some sort of separation for some folks. A lot of time it takes resources.
Yes,
and it
the
takes
animal
time,
thing, I really
and it
like
takes
how
a
some
willingness to
prisons do
fail.
that.
And I understand that given an infinite supply and an infinite, maybe a watch, maybe sort of regulation on the movement, I don't know. So I have to come down on the side of some sort of separation that is not punitive in nature. You need to find a way to allow individuals who are leaving prison to have kind of a ceremony of return and say, you have, quote unquote, paid your debt to society.
Yes.
Go on
And
there,
that's not-
sign up and say that you do not believe that we should enslave anybody.
Jorge, you're the man, dude. Thank you so much for your time.
You can hit me up on my link tree. It's www.marcymarie.com.
First thing is, obviously follow us on all the social platforms. Worth Rises on the different platforms, as well as End the Exception on Instagram. You can
Maybe
also
we can
visit
get a
us on our
couple
website at
interviews on.
worthrises.org to set up on the newsletter or to donate. And if you want to send a message to your Congress member to end the exception in the 13th Amendment, visit endtheexception.com to take action.
There you go. And what was it?
Whatever you want to support, but full disclosure, I do endorse the enslavement and murder of certain heinous criminals.
Yes, okay.
I do not
That's where I
believe
wanted
that every criminal can or wants to be rehabilitated into society. Some people are simply menaces to society. But largely, if we zoomed out and created a more rehabilitative prison system rather than one focused on punishment, I think the criminals that leave prison will go on to commit less crimes and fit into society better.
Hold on. Okay. So
Suspicious.
exactly. So what he said is absolutely, I agree 100%. And that's why we have minimum security, medium security, and maximum security prisons. And the reason for that is that the minimum securities are meant for people like me that just got like a DUI, didn't hurt anybody, that never hurt anybody, first offenders, things like that. But when you have New Jersey closing the only minimum security prison in the state, you're sending people that are basically just like low offenders. They didn't do anything besides, like a crime that the judge felt that they needed to be put away for a couple of years to reflect on their actions, right? Not a criminal that's doing 10 to life, 15 to life, or has got a life sentence. You know what I mean? Nothing like that. You don't put the murderers and rapists along in the same prison as someone that has a DUI or someone that has a low offense, or has never been or has never offended before. You don't keep them in the same spot. And that's how you separate it. You make the maximum security prisons the ones that they're the ones doing the work. They're the ones doing the hard labor. They're the ones that have the shitty situation. You don't transfer people like Ghislaine Maxwell to a minimum security federal prison. No, you make her, someone like that, you put her in a maximum security prison and you make it horrible for her. And you make it so bad that she does not even want to live anymore because that's what she deserves. But these people that, they hit the back of a car while they were driving, intoxicated, and no one was hurt. I mean, there could have been someone that's hurt. So yes, I deserved to do that time, but to be put in the same room as someone named Raw Murder, that's crazy. And his nickname was Raw Murder because he just murdered people. And he was in there for life. Why am I in the same room as someone that's in prison for life, and I'm not even an ad seg. I'm in a regular general population. Why is this murderer in the room with me? And that's how you separate the heinous from the miscellaneous, I guess, or the non-violent offenders. I basically think that's how it should be separated. If you did a violent crime, we're going to separate you into the people that are doing violence, because maybe we can have some violence done upon you, bitch. You know, minimum security, you broke into a house with no one there and you took a couple of $100 worth of stuff. I don't think you deserve to be doing slave labor, and you deserve to be punished the same way that a murderer has. So you have to separate it in some way, and we did have that separation for a little bit of time from when I'd known. But now, since the prison systems are all either becoming privatized or run by the state, you're going to see a lot of different ways of running the prison system, and they're trying to get prisoners to lower the amount of spending the state has to do. So I highly recommend go check out the Alabama solution. I'm sorry that this was a longer video than I intended to be. I'm gonna put it up like it is. You know, no editing. Just gonna throw this up, and it will be up on the podcast sites as well, so that you can listen to this through audio. But we're also going to dive into that Tommy G video of him going to the Atlantic, going to the prison in Atlanta, and then doing 24 hours there. Those are two longer videos, so we are going to take a break in between them. And next time, we'll talk about the actual inside of the prison and see the inside of the prisons. So I can't wait to see what he does, because he's got some balls spending 24 hours in this prison. So shout out to him. Shout out to Tyler. Thank you for joining us. Leave a comment, really helps us here on the channel. And you'll see JR hopefully back here this week, like we usually do. So I hope you had a good Super Bowl. Hope you had a good week. Again, thanks. I'm out again.